sponsorships and grants to support exhibits, fundraising events, and special education programs. Cynthia also manages a companies with care program and leads tours for special groups. I know Cynthia, we talked too about a program that had run at the New Canaan Library for Stepping Stones. It sounds wonderful, especially for all you dog lovers. So, Cynthia, okay, please come on up.
Thank you, Amy, for that kind introduction, and
Thank you for being here.
everyone for lunch today, and for the opportunity to speak with some of you individually. And it's an honor for me to share information about Stepping Stones Museum for Children in Norwalk. We're very appreciative and want to give a heartfelt thank you to the Rotary Club of New Canaan for your hard work as fundraisers and all that you do in the community and the broader community to make an impact on others and to benefit everybody that's here in New Canaan and the surrounding towns. So thank you for that. Stepping Stones has benefited from your donations annually since 2016 for a variety of different programs. Last year, well, 2024, we did not apply. We had a slight transition in staff where we didn't get in time for the deadline, but I've recently been assigned to work with you all in this year's upcoming application process. So I'm really looking forward to working on that as the winter months approach. I would love to share slides with you today, but I unfortunately don't have those with me for visuals, but I have a couple handouts that I will share. Typically when I do presentations for the museum, we're down at the museum and people can see the children's faces and the educators hard at work and the bells and whistles, and it's something I hope that all of you have maybe experienced on your own with your own children or grandchildren, and if not, I have some passes that I can give to Amy at the end of today and invite you all to come with your families, or I would be happy to greet you as well and do a personal tour on site. So what I wanted to share for those of you who don't know about Stepping Stones, and if you do, we are a vibrant and essential component to the community in Fairfield County and in the heart of Norwalk. We've been there for almost 25 years, and to date we've serviced over 8.2 million children and families. Specifically last year we had 282,000 visitors. The majority of those do come from Fairfield County, Westchester County being our second biggest population, but we have quite a few residents, or excuse me, just travelers coming through that metropolitan area up through the I-95 into the Boston region. So we have made a mark. Stepping Stones is an award-winning, nationally recognized museum. We're part of the American Associations of Museums that has an annual conference every year at major big museums, children's museums throughout the United States, and we actually hosted that conference in 2018 in Norwalk at the museum, where we welcomed 1,800 professionals that came in. We housed them in Stamford and in Norwalk, and it was quite an undertaking for a small museum, but we did it, and with flying colors. But just to give you a little background, the museum was originally spearheaded and founded by Gigi Priebe. She's a New Canaan resident, and a lot of New Canaan moms actually came together with other community partners and parents, some corporate leaders who wanted to create an educational resource right here in the heart of Fairfield County. And property was landed in Matthews Park, which is where Lockwood Matthews Mansion is located. There's also a center for contemporary printmaking. There's still quite a bit of property there that's owned through the city of Norwalk for public use, and that's where Stepping Stones was erected. About 10 years after the opening in 2010, we had expanded and added a multimedia gallery and some other spaces and pretty much doubled our space. The museum officially opened in 2000. Rhonda Keast was nominated as our CEO and president and remained as our CEO and president for all this time up until just recently, where she is still working with the museum. She stepped aside to continue focusing on what she truly loves and her deepest passion, which is creating and working with the exhibits. So we have a brand new exhibit that's opening next year in honor of our 25th anniversary that she is devoting all of her time. I don't believe she is working any less hours. But the continuity of having the vision from her leadership has been tremendous, and the directors have really taken the initiative to make sure that that transition has remained seamless with her vision of where the museum is going in the next 25 years, as demonstrated in the past 25 years. So, as I said, we are about to celebrate our big 25th anniversary going into 2025. I'm going to share some information about that, but wanted to just give an overview of Stepping Stones. We typically welcome children ages, crawlers, essentially through age 10. We really strongly want to educate learning through play. We have hundreds of interactive exhibits where we focus on STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, with a big emphasis on language and literacy. And in fact, something that we started to do before COVID, we were closed for 20 months. It was a little difficult time for us because children couldn't be vaccinated for quite a while. Even when vaccinations were, being actively, given out to adults and then teenagers and then the middle schoolers, young children couldn't be vaccinated. So we really needed to keep our facility ready for when high interactive experience would be safe. But with that said, our goal is to inspire children to develop a lifetime love of learning. And I wanted to share a handout here that can act as a slide, since I don't have slides, and I'll just pass these around. This gives some bullets about the museum. What I was going to just mention before COVID, we started to institute many bilingual experiences in the museum, which we are finding very important. Our demographics have increased greatly with Spanish-speaking families. And during COVID, while we were closed, we were able to spend a lot of time trying to reevaluate how we can bring that to the table, moving forward. So we're working hard to have Spanish translations throughout our exhibits. The new exhibit that will be opening next year will also have Spanish and English. So within the handout, you can just learn a little bit more about Stepping Stones. I'm not going to read through all of this, but the mission is to broaden and enrich educational opportunities for children ages 10 and under and enhance their understanding of the world. Throughout the museum, we have 5 hands-on permanent exhibits. Big Adventures Dinosaurs is something we had opened in about 2018, and we've expanded it since then. It has a life-size prehistoric dinosaur that actually is from the state of Connecticut. Children can dress up as little, do paleontologic demonstrations, dig for fossils, act as scientists. Our energy lab is the most favorite exhibit within the museum. Children know it as the water room. If any of you have been there, I'm sure you're familiar with it because they beeline right to the energy lab. We just did a major renovation to that space last year where we added a biosphere. The energy lab focuses on how energy is used by organisms within the biosphere, in the hydrosphere, atmosphere, and the lithosphere. Eversource was a large funder of that and made that actual climber happen for us, the biosphere climber. Lights On is an exhibit that we have that shows the creativity and the illusions that can be created from light and prisms. Top Town is devoted specifically to little ones, ages 0 to 3, where they won't get stepped on. Has a lot of language and literacy already implemented into that exhibit with shapes and letters and identifying things that are familiar to them that they may see, like school buses or dog houses or things like that. But just to kind of run through, you can see that beyond our exhibits, we have a lot of other programs outside of just what is going on in the museum. We have our Ellie Literacy and Language Initiative, which essentially is a preschool. We're not really supposed to call it that, but it's kindergarten readiness program that is housed at Stepping Stones. It's also housed in Norwalk Public School classrooms, and there's also a classroom up at Fairfield University. And it's a program that we designed with Literacy How back in 2010, and has had demonstrated results on how these children are doing. It's a different way of teaching reading and writing, and that is a very big component of Stepping Stones a lot of people don't know about. Our youth enrichment program, I'll just sort of cite that as well. That is something that the Rotary Club of New Canaan has supported in the past. It is a workforce readiness program for middle schoolers and high schoolers, where they can come down, and it's as like an internship where they can shadow different teams and really get a feel for what museum work is like. But whether it's an educator or working in the gift shop or following someone in marketing or in the executive offices, they can really get a variety of different experiences. So that is something that is somewhat special, people don't always know about. Of course, in addition, we do birthday parties, field trips, all those sorts of things. We raise money annually to help schools come down for group and school opportunities, or what we know as field trips. But we actually try to do this specifically for Title I schools, so that schools who can't afford to, families can always sign the permission slip for the $15, I don't know what it costs to ride the bus now, but when my children were young, you would have to sign a slip and pay a little money for the bus or the luncheon, so that your kids could go on these field trips. The Title I schools can't always those parents can't always do that. So we make it possible so that they can still take advantage of the field trips to Stepping Stones. So what I would like to move on to is share, because that's kind of part of the money that we raise, our Open Arms program, which is one of our standout programs where we raise money annually to help families in need and lower income families gain access to the museum equally. So essentially, I know you all work hard and raise money annually for the different programs that you fund. We do that specifically to help a variety of groups within Stepping Stones. We give out family memberships to those in need. We work with the Art Center in Norwalk. We work with Family and Children's Agency in Norwalk to identify those families who could benefit most from a free membership. We have a kindergarten readiness summer camp that we do through Norwalk Public Schools. We run the program. We get 3 to 5 classrooms every year. We've been running it for 10 years. It's called Camp Ellie, and it's a kindergarten readiness program free of charge to children who qualify. So they come from low-income families. Most of these kids have never had a preschool experience at all. So, and many of them have parents who do not speak English. So to arrive, first day of kindergarten at school, they don't know how to stand in line or sit in a circle, or there are needs from them that they just are not ready for. So this particular program has been extremely successful, helping a very, like I said, lower income families, children, attend this particular program. We fund this through Open Arms. As well as I mentioned, the Title I schools, if they can't actually get their groups down to Stepping Stones, they will sometimes take the curriculum and we have mini exhibits that we can then take up to the schools and bring it to the classroom. So that's kind of some of the things that are outlined here in this sheet. We also do a free day event. Every year we try to do one where the museum is free all day. We have a theme. It's generally, got extra activities and programs that are intertwined. And we have a Get Into It free night. Usually, that's since COVID, we've been trying to get that back up and running, but we had it consistently once a month called Get Into It free. And again, with different themes where families can come and get giveaways and things like that. So just wanted to point out the Open Arms program. And I think the next handout, we'll just pretend that this is a gorgeous slide behind me. This is very similar to an annual report. You're familiar with these, but I thought it might be good to share it today. It just kind of gives a slightly different visual of all the different things that Stepping Stones did. This is from 2023, and we obviously will be working on 2024 sometime next spring. But you can just kind of see here, last year we had 282,000 museum visits. The Open Arms program, we service 40,000 individuals. That program, we try to raise $1 million every year, and in some years we've actually serviced 75,000 individuals. It just kind of varies from year to year and how much money we actually raise. But you can see here we have 40 Yes2 volunteers, which is a program you all have supported in the past, and then this Mud Agrees program, which Amy had referenced down at the bottom, where we had almost 5,000 participants. So that program has been funded nicely from the Rotary Club, where it's a social emotional learning program. We run it twice a week at the museum on Wednesdays and Saturdays, where the educator will read a story about the dog is frustrated or angry or sad or scared to go to the vet, or any emotion that a child might feel. These stories are just adorable. And the educator will read it and then do a Q&A with the 2-year-olds to the 6-year-olds, or even the older children like to come, and the older brothers and sisters, and kind of get those social emotional feelings drawn out, and it's a really good experience for the kids. In addition to that, every class we bring in a real dog. So the dogs are either service dogs or they're rescue dogs. Children are taught about what service dogs do. They talk about rescue dogs. They talk about what's happened to them, where they come from. Each class is a little different, but they're always allowed to line up and then pet the animals. They're taught how to pet a dog for the first time. We don't come at them like this, is it better to do this? Or do we ask the owner, may I pet your dog? Those kinds of lessons, which can be very important, especially I know when my children were growing up, I had one who loved dogs, no problem, the other was scared. So, but both are not good situations, because if you are too excited, and too confident, well, then you could be at a birthday party and something could maybe not, you could get bit by a dog. So it's a very great program, and we were running that and still do. We have classes at the New Canaan Library, and specifically the Rotary Club of New Canaan was funding some Mud Agrees programs at the New Canaan Library in past years. So I just thought I would mention that. You can obviously see that you are listed on the back side. So what I wanted to share with you next, so next year is the museum's 25th anniversary. And we are celebrating it with two big sort of powerhouse experiences. The first one is a big celebration in March. We are having a circus that is coming to Stepping Stones. It will be in a red and white tent. It's the first circus to ever be in Norwalk. It will run for 5 days with 2 performances a day. And we have a consultant, Circus Moves, that is working with us to design a specially curated circus to tell the story of Stepping Stones over the past 25 years. We're going to have tickets that are sold. We are going to have an allotment of tickets for groups in schools, and then also for lower income families. We're going to make sure that a variety of groups are able to attend and see this very special experience. On that Saturday, we're also having a big celebration for the sponsors, the corporations, the different funders to come together. The museum will be open all night with circus decorations, jugglers, stilt walkers, silent auction, hors d'oeuvres, the types of events that we would anticipate with the 25th anniversary gala style celebration. So that's something we're planning and working on now. What I'm hoping to engage the Rotary Club of New Canaan with for funding for next year is help with the exhibit. So the exhibit that we are working on is called Healthyville USA. It is part of the 25th anniversary. It opens in June, July. It is a new interactive exhibit that's based on what it's like to live in a healthy community. So years ago, we had an exhibit called Healthyville that was all about health and nutrition and fitness and how to avoid childhood obesity, or how to read food labels, or things that were all about how to have a healthy body. But I think when COVID, and the exhibit traveled to 9 different cities across the United States. It was fabulous. It was created in 2006, and it started to get a little dated in regards to a few things, like yogurt was presented as a healthy food item. But now today, we have so many different yogurts. They're not all one and the same, and they're all healthy, because some have high fat, some have too much sugar. So we needed to kind of pick and choose and remove, and what happened was with COVID, the exhibit was retired. It had an amazing run, and with all the social emotional health issues and mental health needs over the past 4 years, we've been working on the sequel to Healthyville, and it's not just limited to the health of our bodies and what we're putting in our bodies, or well visits with the doctor and keeping up with those sorts of things. It has a lot to do with the people around us and how we interact in our community. And so this exhibit will include a town hall, it will have a health center, it will have a grocery, little market, it will have a community garden where children will actually grow vegetables and then bring them down and sell them in the market. I have a handout. It's long. I don't expect you all to read it, but it just kind of gives you the background of where we were coming from in creating this exhibit, how we got here. So if you would like to kind of take the time and dig a little deeper, I can share that with you.
There isn't a display that says the joy of kale, I hope.
Sure, kale will be in the exhibit.
Unless it's with mac and cheese.
There will be 3 proposed learning experiences. So the actual stations will be the health center, the city hall, the good foods, cafe and market. There's gonna be a garden and a park, and then the home of the family. So the town is run by Lucy. Her last name is Somebody. Lucy Somebody and her friends, and they will interact and have a variety of different topics that will be woven in throughout the educational programming of the exhibit. But I happen to know that things like health and nutrition, physical and social and emotional health, mental health, civic engagement, community action, youth activism, diversity and inclusion, these are all the kinds of messages that will be part of the programming, in addition to just what it's like to live in a town. Yes, we go to the grocery store, or yes, we go to the doctor for this, or what have you. So that's basically what I wanted to share. When I submit the proposal, we'll have more details. I know your proposal application is, we want it to be concise, but there will be interpretive plans that will be available that would be much longer, that could always be submitted if anybody wanted to have a deeper look. So, any questions? Hopefully I can
For anybody who hasn't taken their grandchildren, or children, I don't know, they're good to Stepping Stones, you are missing out, because it's the most fun they ever have when they're visiting you. It's a terrific place.
Absolutely. I took my kids there from 2003 to 2010 or whatever, and they absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
So, and this was a little while ago. I'm sure it's amazing now. You've done so much to it.
Yes. Well, what I find is so incredible is that the museum does speak for itself, and the extra programming that we weave in every week. There's the repetitive programs like Storytime with Mother Goose, or the Mudagrees program, or yoga with Susan, or whatever. Those things keep happening, but it's all of the special events that happen are just so creative and unique, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Now, I gotta put a plug in for the grown-ups. I had a ball with the ball. And I don't know where my grandkids went, but I was doing that.
Yeah.
Are you part of an association or consortium alliance of different children's museums in the
Yeah,
country.
read the people.
We are a member of the Associated Museums of America, so we're a member, but we don't have an affiliation with any other
Sort of where you
organization.
get all the ideas, you know, and
Well, it comes mainly through the vision of our CEO and president, our board of directors, our directors, our education staff meetings. The Healthyville USA exhibit literally just kind of developed with the knowledge of knowing that Healthyville needed to retire. Do we change elements of that? And because it did so well, and it went to so many cities with a lot of visitation numbers were very, very high. But then, I mean, COVID, the silver lining, kind of fueled these ideas, and it's going to be fabulous. It will be very exciting.
Yeah, it's been a number of years since I was there. Whenever I went with children, it was thrilling. I think it's a phenomenal success story, and I congratulate you on the 25 years. I just wonder if you ever do an on-site introduction to it to all of us adults who are really actually yearning to be kids again. I would love to know it, see it and know it, because I don't know if you ever do things which are for adults on-site.
So we have actually tried to run a Grandparents' Day in the past. The attendance hasn't always warranted repeating it, and then we would maybe take a couple of years back and something else would pop up as a good idea. We should probably revisit that, but I don't know, we have lots of special events that go on at night that are mostly fundraising.
Keith
events.
was actually referred to evening with alcohol. That's
Yeah,
what-
right. So, perfect example. You may love this, or you may hate
and
it, but
play.
so what we did was, so with the anniversary years, 25th is a big one, the 20th was a huge one, but we had to cancel because of COVID. But before that, it was 2015, and I was there for that. That was like our other big round year, and then the in-between years, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, we do other things that are like not so expensive, because getting a tent, having those big gala style, they actually cost nonprofits a lot of money. You really got to have your fundraising in line to make those be successful. So we do mini events instead, and what we've done for the past 2 years is we've done it's an event called Game On, and it's surrounding the basketball tournament, NCAA basketball tournament. We always air. We have this huge in the multimedia gallery. It's like a 37 foot by 12 foot big screen. We can do screens all over the museum. So we air the games, several of the games that are all happening during the tournament throughout the museum. We have all kinds of food donated by Palmer's Market and all these great vendors, and they come. The alcohol is free and part of the open bars and that sort of thing. We have games, and this year we had people could shoot baskets and win a prize, and so we do quite a few of those, but they're fundraisers.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of
Sounds like
necessarily events per se, but
Okay.
just to introduce a group of adults,
Sure.
such as ourselves, who would say, actually, on such as a date, we're going to, we would be given a tour
Yeah.
of what's going on out there.
Sure.
Because, I think that's a way of potentially stimulating some additional dollar interest in the organization.
I can do that, and I do that.
Oh, good.
So I welcome corporate organizations and their directors or team that they decide to bring in, and anytime I can certainly welcome a group and see through and kind of show you all those exhibits that were in the first handout and highlight some of the key elements.
Yeah, we're
of that.
fascinated with what you're doing, I think.
Love to have you.
I can remember being on that committee with Gigi Creed when she wanted to launch the museum, and this group from New Canaan, there was just such a groundswell of support, and it was such a wonderful project to work on.
So Gigi is still very, very much involved with the museum, and actually orchestrating. She's on the committee for the 25th anniversary and circus celebration that we're working on now. I know she's become an accomplished author
Yes.
too, and has
That's
come
children's
to the
book.
museum and with her books, and has been.
The Bowers are still very involved there.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yes, that was what I was gonna report, that, I was there for one of your fundraisers, and it was Rotary related because it was, the Hobbs.
Okay. Yeah.
And I, the 210 or 215.
Okay.
I saw it as an adult because my children were too. But that, in the light is never forgotten it.
Good, good. Well, as I mentioned, I do have some passes that I brought along. I'll give them to Amy. I don't know how you distribute them, but, you know, I'd love for, if there's not enough, like, if anybody wants to come down, I will give you my card and let me know.
Just,
When you hit this group up to pay, okay? When they come, hit this group up to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
quick question on the Healthyville
Yes.
exhibit that you created, whatever, a dozen years ago, and it's traveled around the country.
Yeah.
That was created at Stepping Stones, right?
That's right.
Have you gained like royalties, or you lease that to other museums to bring
Yes.
in? So you still own that?
Yes.
And so the board made a decision to retire, and now you're creating this new one with the anticipation that that'll fund. Has that provided a significant amount of funding over the last decade, or?
So Healthyville USA or
No,
the previous
the
one?
original Healthyville.
I am
Just
not
trying-
familiar with the
Okay.
actual numbers
mass of it.
on that, to be honest. I did do fundraising for Healthyview,
Okay.
Healthyville several times, because in between, like, it would go out to the 3 cities and then it would come home.
Okay.
And it would be on site here for 9 months and be refurbished at the
Yeah.
same time, and then it would go out again. So different museums would contract and ask to lease it for a period of time. But I never really was familiar with that,
It's an
because I'm not on the
interesting
exhibit staff,
Okay.
but I could find out.
You mentioned that you had, you know, certain perennial exhibits that are there, and I think that's great, both for kids, because certain things kids love and they love to see when they come back. What percentage turns over, and with what regularity, to new exhibits? And
That's a very good question. I don't know if, we used to have a gallery that was called the Traveling Exhibit Gallery. And it was like a space where that was the only thing that was rotating. That's changed. Now that's where the Lights On exhibit is. It's been a permanent exhibit for a number of years. That is where Healthyville is going to go, but Healthyville is going to stay there for 5 years. I think Lights On was there for 3. So I don't know if there is regularity. I think it has a lot to do with the funding, the needs of what the community is looking for at the current time. For example, we just opened another new learning space. It's not an exhibit necessarily, but it's a language and literacy resource center. It's called the Ellie Book Nook, where it's a place really encouraging children to read, because they're all so exposed to the technology. The kids now are getting cell phones, I think, at like 6 and 7 years old. I know mine had one in 5th grade, and I thought that was bad, but she was doing a program that was like a half hour away. We wanted to be able to let her know if we couldn't pick her up on time or something like that. And I think that the concept of just reading a book at a very young age is something that is, we want to institute that. So we just opened the Ellie Plus Book Nook in a new space that we kind of carved out in the museum. We took away a big coat closet and shrunk our gift shop and just decided to do it.
So we wanna thank you, Cynthia.